And we are live on YouTube, and I will start the webinar. Good evening, everyone. If you're just joining us, this is the Renters Alliance Renter Town Hall. We'll get started in just a few minutes. It's hot.
I love it. I love it.
I don't. I like it hot if there's air conditioning. My pillow's like a giant sponge,
No, really?
a wet sponge.
Mm.
Hey, Matt, can you open up the chat?
Good idea.
Is that what's going on? Is it open?
Not yet, Pat. There we go. Couple more minutes, folks, and we'll get started. Renters Alliance Renter Town Hall. Welcome, everybody.
Mm.
We'll give it one more minute and we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back, Gilberto.
Yeah, my computer decided to restart.
Fair enough.
Perfect timing.
Mm. This thing is work. Mm.
Okay, let's get started. Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Losack. I'm the co-founder, executive director of the Montgomery County Renters Alliance. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're going to have a discussion about what you need to know in order to vote in the upcoming primary, which is June 23rd. We have Dr. Gilberto Zelaya from the Montgomery County Board of Elections to give us an overview of that. In addition, we have Carmen Castro Conroy from the Housing Initiative Partnership, one of our partners and friends, and she'll be giving an overview of the low-income renter tax credit program. This being tax day, if you are low income, then you should take full advantage of it. You can get, I think, up to $1,000 back. And so if you're eligible, don't let the money just sit there. A couple opening remarks. The Maryland General Assembly concluded its session on Monday at midnight and failed miserably to pass good cause eviction protection again. The House of Delegates did its job, thanks to the leadership of Delegate Janelle Wilkins, our board member, Delegate Vaughn Stewart, our good friend, Delegate Lorig Charkoudian, and many others, including the Speaker of the House, who championed this legislation in the House, and it passed overwhelmingly again for the second time. But in the Senate, unfortunately, the Judicial Proceedings Committee, chaired by Will Smith, Senator Will Smith from Tacoma Park, failed to move it to a vote. And we believe also in consultation with Senate President Bill Ferguson. And we can only speculate that the landlord developer industry's lobbying efforts were successful in threatening to withdraw support from candidates and elected officials they support, pushing their propaganda that somehow the sky will fall if we protect renters' housing stability, quality, affordability, that somehow people will stop investing in housing development. Ample evidence shows that that's not true, but that evidence was ignored again. So unfortunately, renters with just 60 days notice at the end of their lease can be told that the landlord will not renew the lease, and the landlord does not have to provide any justification for that, leaving nearly 40% of residents in Montgomery County vulnerable to housing instability again. It is a tremendous travesty, a dereliction of duty by the Maryland Senate. And unfortunately, we're going to have to be much more active in order to address that in the upcoming legislative session in 2027. But that's the bad news. The good news is that we are still very active. Renters are getting more and more active in Gaithersburg and Rockville, moving to try to pass rent stabilization. There's an election upcoming in our primary, and renters and others who care about renters' rights are paying attention to candidates who support renters, stable housing, quality housing, and affordable housing. And we hope all of you will do that. So with that, let me quickly introduce my staff and our board member. We have Josh Fisher, the treasurer of the Renters Alliance Board of Directors. We have Jackie Mashinia, our outreach director. We have David Mullins, our senior policy and research analyst. Our outreach coordinators, Emily Towie and Tim Huang. We have our service year intern, Hua Ho, who is doing a terrific job with us, and Pat Beckham, also on staff, who does a lot of our outreach and information tabling. So with that, let me turn it over to Dr. Gilberto Zelaya from the Montgomery County Board of Elections to give us an overview of the upcoming primary election, which is on June 23rd. Dr. Z.
Good morning. Good morning. Good evening. I don't know what time it is. I've been sitting here too long, but thank you so much, Matt and Adam. It's supporter of voting and voting rights. So I want to recognize that as well. For multiple years, he's on schedule. He knows when to plug me in to get some updates and information to you so you could formulate a vote plan. Don't worry about taking notes because we will be mailing every single registered voter a sample ballot. So everything that's in the PowerPoint will be in your sample ballot, but I will also forward this PowerPoint to Matt to distribute or to post on your website for future reference. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I got the right one. Okay, and can you confirm that you can see those slides? Can everyone see those slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So first and foremost, thank you again. We're here again. It's a 2026 gubernatorial midterm election cycle. As Matt stated, the primaries are on Tuesday, June 23rd. Every election year, it's every 2 years on an even year, and the partisan group dictate the primaries. The general election is written in the federal and state constitution. It's the first Tuesday after the first Monday. So that's why the general election is November 3rd. But focusing on the primary elections, this is going to be kind of odd. This is probably the first time you'll have a presenter encourage you to take out your cell phones. The first thing you should do is text the word vote, and the number is 77788. vote to 77788. And that text prompt will take you to the Maryland Online Voter Registration where you could update your registration or register to vote. Then the word check, that's where you could check your voter registration. If you need to update your voter registration, you could text the word update to 77788. And if you need to request to a mail-in ballot, the letters are VBM for vote by mail, VBM to 77788. But we'll get into these nuances. So in Maryland, we have three options. When I first joined the Board of Elections in 2003, it was called absentee and election day voting. You had two options. In addition, in order to vote absentee, which is now called mail-in voting, you needed a reason to do so, whether it's personal or professional reason, illness, or you're going to be out of the county or out of the country. You would need to request and provide a reason why you're voting an absentee ballot. Moving forward over 2 decades, the franchise has opened. Not only can you vote by mail, you can vote during the early voting season for the primary election, which is June 11th through the 18th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we'll talk more about that and the locations. And if you're not voting by mail and you're not voting early, you're a purist and you believe that election day is the day you vote, so be it. That's going to be on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., including during your election early voting 8-day consecutive dates. So in order to be a registered voter in Maryland, you must be a U.S. citizen, which means either U.S. born or naturalized. You have to be a resident of Maryland. Obviously, Montgomery County is part of Maryland. And you have to be at least 16 years of age to pre-register. But the first time you will vote is when you're 18, at least by the general election. So for this cycle is November 3rd, 2026. Now, the advanced voter registration deadline is June 2nd of this year. We call it advanced because it really helps us kind of allocate our focus on ballot equipment, supplies, the number of poll workers we need to recruit and train, the number of ballots that we need to send to every early voting location and or voting equipment. It gives us a better picture of the electorate and also gives us a better opportunity to do some stats and numbers. During the 2024 presidential elections, a third of our voters voted by mail, a third voted during the early voting season, and a third voted on election day. Also, full disclosure, Maryland has closed primary party primaries, which means if there's a particular candidate you want to vote for, most partisan contests like county executive, county council, etc., are partisan. So if there's a candidate you want to vote for one of the partisan contests, you must be a registered Democrat or a registered Republican. You could update your name and your address during the early voting and election and on election day, but you cannot update your voter registration. Montgomery County is about 50+% Democrat, 15% registered Republicans, and about 25% unaffiliated. So if you're under the unaffiliated camp and you don't update your voter registration, you could request a party ballot, but you'll be voting provisionally. And if you don't make those changes prior to the 2nd, we will not incorporate those non-affiliated who would like to affiliate on election day or during early voting, and we will not be scanning or processing those provisional ballots. So make sure you update that. Now, 17-year-olds. So for example, I have a son who is 17 currently, but will turn 18 by or before the general election of November 3rd. What that means is that 17-year-old can vote in the primary elections. So if you have a son or daughter, nephew, neighbor, grandchild that's 17 as of now, but will turn 18 by or before November 3rd, by all means, make sure they're registered to vote because that young individual can vote for the first time in the primaries, even if they're 17 years of age. Now, as I mentioned earlier, why it's important to update your voter registration. It just ensures that our allocation of funds are adequately distribute it in the specific efforts. It also helps us clean our voter registration records and our database. And there's also savings because around May, you guys will receive what is called the sample ballot voter's guide. That's very specific because especially if you need to update your voter registration. Even if you live in an apartment complex and you moved from apartment 101 to, let's say, 502, for the Board of Elections, that's a new address. The postmaster, the individual who delivers your mail, cannot forward or will not forward any correspondence from the Maryland State Board of Elections or the Montgomery County Board of Elections. Even if you move, let's say, from Prince George's into Montgomery County and you do not update your voter registration, that sample ballot will be going to the Prince George's address and then it will be returned to the Prince George's Board of Elections. So it's critical that you update your voter registration. I know there's a habit of individuals not updating their driver's license, permit, or ID because of the whole issue of wanting or not wanting to pay the surcharges, if any exist. But it does affect you when it comes to voting. So avoid being a provisional voter, avoid any hassles, especially if you're voting by mail. And for the primary elections, if you're a registered Republican, your cover of your sample ballot will be red. If you're a registered Democrat, it will be blue. And if you're unaffiliated or any of the minor parties, it would be yellow. So if you happen to be registered in one of the two major parties and you get a yellow sample ballot before the 2nd of June, contact us and update your voter registration and we'll send you the corresponding sample ballot. Otherwise, if it's past the 2nd, you'll be voting that party ballot. Now, mail-in voting, there's a bunch of different deadlines. I'll try not to confuse you, but around the first week of May, we will be installing 58 ballot drop boxes across Montgomery County. And around that same time, the first wave of mail-in ballots will also hit the mail stream. We have about 125,000 plus permanent voters receiving their mail-in ballots. It's very easy, and we'll explain how to get your mail-in ballot. Once you get that mail-in ballot, make sure that you read the instructions, you make your selections, sign the voter oath that's located on the return envelope, and mail that back to us. As I noted, we have 58 drop boxes. There's over 600 United States Postal Service mailboxes, those blue collection bins that you may find on the streets. And there's multiple post offices. And we'll talk about some issues with the post office, but we have the 58 drop boxes. The deadline submission by mail or fax is the 16th of June before midnight. And if you're going to request an electronic print at home ballot, you must submit that by the 19th of June, and we'll talk a little bit more about the print at home ballot. The mail-in packet, when you get the traditional packet, we pay postage. If you're using the post office, you have the official card stock. Make sure you sign the voter oath. There's instructions, and under Section 203 of the 1975 Voter Rights Act, the ballot and all the instructions are bilingual in English and Spanish. Now, the print at home ballots, that's what essentially what it is. It was previously called web delivery. What it is you are mailed by the State Board of Elections a login and a password. It's secure. You log into their VPN. You will be able to download your corresponding ballot style and party ballot style if you're affiliated. You will print, and then you will fill in the bubbles, and you will mail that packet back to us. You will need to make sure that your printer has toner, paper. You need to identify, locate a envelope, and you have to pay your own postage. Getting the packet from us is more convenient. It's all there. I understand that we live in this era of Uber Eats and Amazon.com and instant gratification, but one of the issues we have with the prints at home is that there's an administrative burden on our end. It could be convenient for you. The majority of voters voting a print at home ballot are in Montgomery County. I have one voter that's literally across the street from our facility. It's like I feel like I'm like knocking on their door, like, can you get the regular packet? And what happens is that we have to have bipartisan teams grab your print at home ballot because it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. and the bipartisan team will basically transpose your sheet of paper onto the official cardstock. I will read the ballot. My opposite team member of opposite party will fill in the bubble, and then we will swap it. In the last election, we had over 30,000 web delivered print at home ballot, and the vast majority were in Montgomery County. The premise of prints at home or the web delivered ballot is military overseas. Individuals, maybe if you're doing research on the Himalayas, you don't want to wait 2 to 3 weeks to get your ballot. You get an email, you print it, you send it back. You're in the military overseas, but it's become more of an avant-garde convenience mechanism. But keep in mind, we need to transpose that on the official cardstock. And why? And the reason why is because your 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper cannot be passed through the high velocity scanners. It just won't read it. And so that's the reason why we need to transpose that on the cardstock. Briefly talking about the 58 ballot drop boxes. They're secure, they're under surveillance. We have 58 of them. You could text the word box and zip code to identify the nearest drop box and the closest post office location. This text only works during the Dropbox mail-in season. So around the first week of May through June 23rd, 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., those boxes will close. Once you get your mail-in ballot, please don't put it under your pillow. Don't leave it on your coffee table. Just vote it and send it back. Starting June 2nd, the legislation has allowed us to pre-canvass any returned mail-in ballots, which means on election night, we could release the results or outcomes from any pre-canvassed mail-in ballots. Then we will release the early voting outcomes from those 8 consecutive days from the 11th through the 18th of June. And then on election night, as the polling places come in, they trickle in, we'll release those. Any outstanding mail-in ballots or provisional ballots, we will canvass those immediately the next day. And these drop boxes, 24-hour surveillance. So we have a daily pickup every day, including Sundays. So when the post office is closed, we're working. And in addition, once the early voting season hits through election day, so from the 11th of June through the 23rd, we do twice pickups in the morning and in the evenings. Now, the issues with USPS. So what they communicated last year was there's issues with the postmark. Before, there was this understanding that when you put a mail piece into a collection collection bin or within the post office, that on that day or by the time that's listed on the flap of the blue collection bin, if it says 1 o'clock, that they will pick it up by 1, and then it would be taken to the post office and they will postmark it. They're not guaranteeing that anymore. There's issues with transportation between regional distribution centers. So if you have a smaller post office, like let's say Washington Grove, they will pick up the mail, not necessarily every day, and they will take it to a distribution center, which could be the Shady Grove facility. And then from there, it could be taken to the Capitol Heights facility, where it's going to get sorted and date stamped. That could take a day or two. So if you're going to procrastinate and it's the 23rd of June, use one of our 58 ballot drop boxes. However, if you are in the middle of somewhere on the globe and for whatever you locate your mail-in ballot in your briefcase or your school bag, run it to the post office. Most post offices are open until 5 p.m. And then you walk it in and you make sure that that clerk date stamps it in front of you. Don't just put it in the mailbox. If you're in an apartment complex, I see they have those. I haven't been in an apartment complex for a while, but they have those little like a little slider. I guess I don't know what you call them, but don't assume that someone's going to pick it up immediately when you drop it in there. Okay, it could even get stuck. Some of those things are really old. Okay, so by all means, take it to the counter of the post office before 5. Get it date stamped if you're not near a ballot drop box. And those mail-in ballots that are date stamped on the 23rd, even if it's like on the Himalayas, we have to give that ballot 10 days for it to arrive to us, for us to canvass. So we're still canvassing mail-in ballots. The last two elections, candidates were complaining and whining why weren't we done? It's because we still had thousands and thousands of outstanding ballots, and we still have to give individuals that ballot 10 days to make it to our office. Now, to request a mail-in ballot, just text the letters VBM to 77788. These are the early voting locations. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm pretty sure you know which is the closest one. Actually, why not? I'll read them out. Activity Center, Bower Park, Bauer Drive, the Damascus Community Center, the Executive Office Building, Germantown Rec Center, Lawton Rec Center, which is in Chevy Chase, the Maryland Praisner Community Rec Center, which is in Burtonsville, the Nancy Dasik North Potomac Community Center, which is technically Rockville, the Potomac Community Center, the Sandy Spring Fire and Rescue, the Silver Spring Civic Building, the Wheaton Library Community Rec Center, and the White Oak Community Rec Center. The same 14 early voting centers as in 2024 will be used again in 2026. And each of those corresponding early voting locations also will have a drop box installed around the first week of May. Primary election day, we've spoke, it's on Tuesday, the 23rd. If you've been in the cave or living under a rock and you're not voting by mail and you didn't vote during the early voting season, the 23rd of June is your last opportunity. On the back of your mail-in ballot is the location where we prefer that you present yourself to vote. If you vote outside of your polling place, you will need to vote a provisional ballot. Then we will do research to wonder why this individual didn't vote at their corresponding location. If you meet all the requirements, if you voted the complete ballot style, then we will accept your provisional ballot in full. What I want to disclose is, for example, I live in Clarksburg. Let's say I'm having lunch with Matt. It's 7:55 and I just didn't vote, right? So now Matt is like, well, I'm going to go to my polling place and I cannot fly to Clarksburg, right? So I'm going to walk in with Matt to his polling place and I'm going to vote a provisional ballot. Now, the benefit of voting early is every early voting center will have every single ballot styles, over 640 ballot styles, okay? But on election day, only the ballot styles, the Republican, the Democrat, and the non-affiliated ballot will be at that particular polling place on election day. During early voting, we have all ballot styles. So if I live in Clarksburg, I could vote on June 12th after having lunch with Matt, right? It doesn't affect me because they have my particular ballot style and a particular party ballot. But on election day, if I walk in with Matt, I'm going to have to vote provisionally. And what happens is I'm outside my voting district. My legislative district could be different. My councilmatic district could be different, which means that when they transpose my provisional ballot to my official ballot, some of the contests will not be bubbled out because the corresponding residential address doesn't match the Silver Spring. Okay. So it's important that you make a vote plan early. And if you vote provisionally, 9 times out of 10, it's your fault. Don't get upset with our volunteers, okay? Because you just added more time to your voting experience if we want you to go in and out. When you're voting in person, you have two options. You could vote the traditional card stock, or you could use the ballot marking device. The ballot marking device is great for individuals who may have challenges with their vision, with their hearing. You could also use the audio. If English is not your native language, you could listen to the audio. You could speed it up. You could slow it down. If you're bilingual, you speak Spanish and it's your native language, you can listen to the audio in Spanish as well. But the ballot is completely bilingual, and so is the ballot marking device. Quickly, Future Votes, a program I started in 2004. We're the only county in the country that allows students as young as middle school to earn student service learning credits, but also to serve as election day aides. The whole premise of the program is to teach our young voters about the process of voting in Maryland, specifically in Montgomery County. Since then, we have trained over 65,000 students within 45,000 families. And the information I'm giving to you today, part of the training is I will educate those individuals about the process in Maryland, specifically Montgomery County, because I'm not the one to say that one of those parents, maybe who's not a citizen today, may become a naturalized citizen in the future. And these students, they range from 12 to 15 years of age. Once they're of age, then they'll know how to defend, how to protect their voting rights. Some of the service, they serve as greeters and also the exit. For the greeters, they welcome the voters. They ensure that there's no partisan literature in the polling room. If they're bilingual, they could assist if required or if the voter asks. For the exit, they distribute the I voted sticker. They encourage our voters to do a survey, a climate survey. A lot of times voters will bring in their younger children and they'll see this young middle school kid, like, how did you do this? Well, you could sign up and we could get them in for the general election. And to keep the room free of partisan literature, clean and cluttered free. Also, as they get older, so full disclosure, this picture is my son Sebastian. So on the top picture, he was in middle school, and in the bottom, this was actually when he was a senior. So now he's a sophomore at Loyola University in Baltimore, and he's going to serve as a poll worker again. So he has no choice, obviously, but he's well versed in his voting rights. And the whole premise of the program is to bring in students. We visit every single high school, private and parochial, twice a year. Even in the odd years, someone's always turning 16. And these students, once they're 16, if they meet the state requirements to register to vote and to serve as poll workers, they can earn SSL or a little bit of stipend or a little bit of cash. We've registered over 25,000 students over the years. And out of those students, over 10,000 of those students serve as poll workers for the particular elections. But we cannot just have a polling place run by students, okay, by minors. We need adults. We need you guys, okay? As civic-minded individuals, I would encourage you to serve as an election worker. You will learn a lot about the process. If you happen to be a naysayer, this is the best opportunity for you to learn. And after you serve as an election worker, an election judge, or a poll worker, they're all interchangeable. Then we'll have lunch and we'll discuss any of your concerns. But there's a whole process in becoming a poll worker or an election judge. And what you do is really you help open, run, and close the polling location, whether it's early voting or on election day. There's a whole chain of custody, tamper tape, tabs. We don't upload any results at the end of the night through the internet or Wi-Fi. Everything is driven back. So for you naysayers, I dare you to serve as a poll worker. Let me inform you and educate you, and then we can have a discussion about the process once you learn how it truly works. And there is a stipend. You can earn up to $250 for a full day. As you see, I didn't say, full time. Full time is 8 hours. A full day is about 14 or 15. It's a long day. But then we have part day positions, which is from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. to close. And we have different positions with different amounts of the stipend, depending how many days you serve during early voting or on election day. Training varies from $20 to $70 as well. And if you serve during the 2024 presidential elections, you get a $100 bonus for every full day, not just one. So if you work 5 days, you get an additional $500 on top of the $1,250 if you work a full day. And if you work part day, you get $50, kind of a thank you for coming back from the presidential elections 2 years ago. And to serve as a poll worker, all you need to do is text the word serve in your email to 77788. There's an example. Make sure that there's a space after the second E in serve, and the first letter or number in your email. Make sure there's a space. And then the system will email you all the information that you need to get your application in. If something comes up and you can't serve in the primary, we'll try for the general. But this is not a mortgage, people. This is an opportunity to volunteer. If something comes up, we get it. We're not going to drag you out the house. We understand. But if you could serve, it's a great opportunity to give back and make a little bit of cash and strengthen your resume as one of your volunteer opportunities. And I appreciate you. Also, a lot of information, I know, but all of this information would be mailed to you, and I will share this with Matt to share with you all today. Thank you for if you have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Before I turn it over to Emily Towie to moderate the rest of this discussion this evening, I just want to thank you. You're a real treasure for the Maryland Montgomery County Board of Elections. Your knowledge and expertise has served us extremely well. We obviously think that renters have a real role to play in our county and state and national elections. When I started the Renters Alliance a long time ago now, People said to me, renters aren't to be taken seriously. They don't pay taxes, they don't get involved, and nothing could be further from the truth. So renters count. Renters are citizens. Renters can vote. If you would like a I'm a renter and I vote button, as I put in the chat, email us at info@rentersalliance.org, and we will send you a button to be a proud renter who is active in your community and obviously who votes for those people who reflect the things that you want to see happen in our county, state, and federal government. So Dr. Z, thank you so much. Are there any questions for Dr. Z? Emily, it's all yours.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Dr. Z, for the really informative presentation. Thanks for coming back with us every
No
year.
worries.
I don't see any question in the chat right now, but I'll put out another call if while we have Dr. Z here. If anyone has a question, please put it in the chat.
My question is, does anybody out there have a slot for your mail in your apartment building that Dr. Z was talking about? And if you don't confuse it with the trash chute, okay? That would be a mistake. I have seen that. I saw it more in Washington, D.C. than I have in Maryland, but that would be interesting to see a building that has the old-fashioned mail chute in it. We got something from
Let me see. Looking at you. So I'm going to give you my email because I need to know what exactly you mean by lucking. I need a little bit more behind that. So if you could email me, Miss Rhodes. Let me see. She had 5 precinct hours, remaining precinct. Okay. Now, keep in mind, there's always an opportunity. There's always room for improvement. By all means, note my email. Email me what occurred. It doesn't help if, we need to know at the moment, right, when it occurs, because in that way, if there's issues with even volunteers, we do something called not eligible for hires, where, trust me, not every volunteer is a great volunteer. And if the individual doesn't follow the policy procedures, if they're, basically, they're bullying other volunteers, if we'll ask them not to come back, basically, because we want everyone to have a great experience. It is highly charged, obviously, with all the static that's happening in DC. But nonetheless, if you could email me what occurred, because it's important that it gets documented and also remedied.
And I think it's fair to say that, these things might happen from time to time, but the vast majority of polling stations are extremely well run with dedicated, good people who want to be active citizens. So let's not throw in any anecdotes that may have happened to one person. Dr. Z can follow up with you offline.
But exactly. So, but hopefully, Ms. Rhodes, that you do continue to vote. One thing has nothing to do with the other. There's always room for improvement. Your vote is sacred. I hope with the information that we have given, you could continue to flex your constitutional right to vote.
Are there any other questions or concerns? Please put them in the chat.
Dr. Z, same with the Renters Alliance. Do you know if if the federal, some of that federal changes will affect voting for this election?
So the way the Constitution was written, it states in black and white in clear English that the states administer the elections. Now, there's some suits floating around. If anything comes down the pipeline, everything will get funneled through the Maryland State Board of Elections, then to the 24 counties in Baltimore City, and we will immediately turn that over and inform all of our voters. So right now, the dates I've given you, they're in stone, and also for the general election. So try not to listen too much to the static. We control everything within the no electioneering zone. But anything past the no electioneering zone, we work closely with the Office of Management, Mercy Management, the police, the county police, and if there's an early voting center, drop box, or election day polling place within the city limits of like Chevy Chase, Gaithersburg, Rockville, Tacoma Park, we work closely with their authorities as well. So we're on top of it. We have a hotline and a call center, a command center. But similar, if there's any concerns, reach out to the Board of Elections, and if we need to get involved, we will get involved. But everything is static. Everything will continue to move forward.
Thanks, Dr. Z. Dr. Z's email is in the chat, so if anyone has any questions, you can reach out to him. I'm not seeing any other comments or questions, probably because the presentation covered everything. And like Dr. Z said, he's going to share that with us. So if someone has a question or wants to go back and relook at it, we can share that with you.
And this was recorded on YouTube as well, and we'll put it in our newsletter.
Well, okay, not seeing any other questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Z. I'm sure some people will reach out to you, and we will definitely call you back next year, or every time it's an election season.
Before the general.
Yes, thank you so much.
Perfect. I'll see you guys.
Yeah,
Have a good one.
feel free to stick around or go have dinner. Thank you,
Oh, I'm gonna go eat.
Enjoy. Thank
I'm gonna
you.
eat breakfast. Yesterday's breakfast. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, gonna turn it over to our next special guest, Carmen Castro Conroy from the Housing Initiative Partnership. Carmen's gonna talk about the Renter Tax Credit Program. Carmen's camera is not working today, but she does have a presentation that she's gonna share with us. Carmen, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do at HIP, and then we can go into the presentation. And
Thank you,
for-
Emily. And I'm also sharing the screen so that you can see and learn a little bit more about Housing Initiative Partnership, who we are as an organization. So HIP, it's a nonprofit housing developer and HUD-approved housing counseling agency serving both counties, Prince George and Montgomery. So we serve all residents 18 and older, regardless of income, and all of our one-on-one housing counseling services is offered free of charge. So that you can see from our Montgomery County office that's located in Germantown, we have certified housing counselors who meet with clients regarding rental issues. Also, pre-purchase counseling is offered, and for homeowners, we have post-purchase and foreclosure prevention counseling. And in addition, I'll quickly go over the services that we provide in addition to the counseling: homebuyer education. That's an 8-hour class that we offer virtually once a month on a Saturday. And we also have a 1-hour homebuyer orientation. It's once a month, also virtual. It's free of charge. We also conducted an outreach and do virtual information sessions on the eviction process and protections for tenants. We have our staff in court, and he's connecting tenants at risk with resources. We also have 2 other programs. The home sharing program it's a collaboration with the Department of Health and Human Services in Montgomery County, where we recruit renters, home seekers with homeowners, and we facilitate the match. This is all free of charge. So you can always refer people to our program, and that's the home sharing program. And the Financial Empowerment Center is a collaboration with the City of Gatesburg, where we have certified financial coaches meeting with city residents that need looking for assistance on their financial goals, like reducing debt, increasing savings, and improving credit. So with that, I will now share the PowerPoint for the Renters Tax Credit Program.
Thanks, Carmen.
Are you seeing that?
Not yet. Still seeing the one pager.
Let's see. Let me know.
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay. So the state of Maryland offers 2 types of credits related to housing. one for homeowners and one for tenants. And those are known as the State of Maryland Homeowners Tax Credit or the State of Maryland Renters Tax Credit. So we're going to learn about how the program works. And this is perfect timing because today is the deadline for filing income taxes. And we're also going to know what the deadline is for this program, which doesn't happen at the same time. So I'll start with that. So the deadline for both programs is October 1st. So everyone has plenty of time to file their taxes, know how much money they made in 2025, and figure out if they qualify for this credit. So this program is not new. It's just that it's not well known, unfortunately. And we're always finding people that qualify and didn't know about it. And HIP, as a HUD approved housing counseling agency, we provide the assistance to and screen tenants and homeowners who may qualify for either of these programs. So the State of Maryland Renters Tax Credit, it's just like it is, it's a tax credit for those who can show they were tenants and pay rent in the previous year and meet certain income guidelines. Now, how the program works is by the Department of Assessments and Taxation, so it's a state program, and it's open to all tenants in the state who had a lease under their name and can demonstrate that they were responsible for the rent, like what was the amount of rent that they pay every month in 2025. So the application is very simple, but it has to be accompanied with the a declaration of their taxes and a copy of their lease. What you get if you qualify after this, the Department of Assessments and Taxation received the application, and well, they take their time to review and get back to you, to all applicants. You qualify for a credit of $1,000. So this credit is good once a year. So there are household income limits, and there are also two groups of applicants. So one group would be households, seniors, renters that are seniors age 60 or older, or a household that has a member that's receiving disability benefits, that's considered 100% disabled, or households that have dependents and under the age of 18 that they claim in their income taxes. So basically, we want to see like two groups, seniors age 60 or older or 100% disabled, and households with dependents under the age of 18.
Okay.
So for those two groups, there will be income guidelines that will be different. So for households that are seniors, with the maximum income per year is $73,000, but that also has to go with the monthly rent. So there is a chart that's chaired by the Department of Assessments and Taxation, and all this information is on the state website. They take applications in the mail, hard copy applications, but you can also go on the website and file an application online after creating an account. So not just the account and the information, but you have to submit a copy of your income taxes and a copy of your lease. But if you have all that, you can do this yourself without having to go to the mail. Now, if when we help clients, we do use hard copy applications because we are not able to create the online accounts on their behalf and mail those forms. So one group of applicants would be households where there is one member of the household age 60 or older, or a member of the household that is considered disabled, receiving disability benefits. It could be a child that's receiving disability. Or again, households with dependents under the age of 18. For that group, income levels are much lower. I think a household of 4 is about $32,000 a year. So regardless of whether you're in the senior age 60 or older or a household with dependents, the application is the same. It's very simple. It's a one-page double-sided. Again, it has to be tied to the a copy of the income taxes from the previous year and a copy of the lease. As long as you show that you paid rent in the state, you were a tenant for at least 6 months, you could be considered eligible. For those age 70 or older, you could apply 3 years retroactive. We had clients who qualified for the credit for the last 3 years because they didn't know about the program. And those age 70 or older, basically you can apply anytime. So even past the deadline of October 1st. Now you can also see that households that have dependents may be eligible based on their income, but for those households, housing subsidies would make them not eligible. So anyone 60 or older, that rule doesn't apply. So again, even if they're getting RAP, the rental assistance program, for instance, or subsidies, rental subsidies through the through HOC, Housing Choice Voucher Program, determination will be based on their portion of rent.
Carmen, can I just ask you to repeat something which I thought perked my ears up, even though I don't think I'm eligible this year. But can you explain again the retroactive? Does that mean a tenant who is eligible 3 years ago could get $1,000 for each of those years retroactively?
Yes, that will be the case. And as long as they meet the income criteria and they have a way to show that they paid either the lease, or it could be a rental ledger that shows that they lived in the property for the last 3 years, they pay the rent, this was their income. Now, for those who are retired on Social Security, are not required to file, they can still apply. So filing for income taxes is not required if they're not required by the law. And also, the state would allow households with tax ID numbers to apply. So even the applicant doesn't have to be like the children with Social Security numbers or tax ID numbers. Like, as long as the applicant has a tax ID number, it qualifies the household if they meet all the other criteria.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Okay, so just quickly, I will briefly touch on the State of Maryland Homeowners Tax Credit Program, since it's very much the same concept that households pay property taxes, and some households, especially those with incomes that are below the maximum that's allowed for this program, this households with $80,000 a year qualify for a reduction in their property taxes. So again, very similar rules. The deadline for this program is October 1st. Households age 70 or older can apply 3 years retroactive, and they do get a discount on their property taxes based on their income and there's a tax limit. So there is a chart that the state goes by to determine if they qualify. So I encourage everyone, if you know anyone whose income for some reason was impacted last year, maybe layoff, unemployment, loss of income for whatever reason, and they made less than $60,000, to look into this program, the State of Maryland Homeowners Tax Credit Program, to see if they could get a significant reduction on their property taxes. For this program, the net worth cannot exceed $200,000. It excludes the value of the property. So even if there's equity in the property, it doesn't matter. But it's only talking about net worth, must not exceed $200,000, and household income cannot exceed $60,000. All the other rules, yeah.
Sorry, I had a quick question about the household income. Is that 60,000 gross or net?
Gross.
Okay, thank you.
And we're gonna look at the income taxes at the actual returns in the first page. Like that's where we're gonna look at the income, because like some households may have Social Security retirement income that's not taxable or taxable. We're gonna add all the income from everyone in the household that's contributing.
Carmen, does the 60,000 apply equally to the size of families? So a family with
Yes.
several children versus a single person?
Yes, so that the maximum of income of 60,000 applies to people regardless of age. So it's not like two groups like the renter's tax credit. So anyone over 60 or under 60 with dependents, without dependents, individuals, families. Yeah, it's household income. So in the program, it will work for someone applying as a single adult compared to a household with a number of dependents or no dependents. And just finally, again, we do offer as a service to provide assistance in completing this application to anyone that may want to check with us first to see if they qualify. We can even screen clients over the phone, and if they need assistance, schedule them either by phone, virtual, or in our office. And our office is located in Germantown, and it's part of our rental counseling program to provide this type of assistance and everything else that we can do, like including connecting households with financial emergency rental assistance and utility assistance if there's having difficulty making their rent payments or making their utility payments. We also provide information about the eviction process. We look at household income. We can also work on improving their credit reports and debt or lowering debt. And we can also provide connect our clients with our home sharing program.
Oh, sorry, Carmen. I had one question about the last slide. So the counselors, so not specific to the tax credit program, but like you mentioned the financial assistance. So like if there's someone, let's say they're like a senior, maybe they have a disability, they have like trouble filling out documents, will you guys like sit down and fill the documents with them, or you just will provide them with the information, but then it's on the tenant to do it themselves?
Oh, the applications that we assist with, we literally sit down and complete those applications. If they need a hard copy, we'll give them the application if they prefer to mail it. If we can like scan and email, we do that ourselves, copy clients so that they know what's going on and communicate with us as well once they hear back, whether
Okay.
it's energy assistance, whether it's the renter's tax credit, any of the applications, that would be something that the counselors would do with the client during the session.
Okay, that's great. So so a tenant should call this 301 number here and make an appointment?
Sure. Yeah, that would be the number for our intake specialist that answers the line Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, to like screen the calls and see if the caller needs to schedule an appointment with a counselor, or if it's something that she can provide directly. Then if sometimes just a quick question or a
Sure.
resource that we can email, that kind of thing, doesn't require a session. But if the client requests a session, yeah, we'll be happy to schedule one.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ollie. I hope this was helpful.
Yeah, it was definitely helpful, and yeah, I learned about the retroactive, so definitely will spread the word to people, and I'll just say again that repeat what Carmen said at the beginning, that you do have till October 1st. So even though today's tax day, if you're hearing about this credit for the first time, you still have several months. So definitely check out the link Matt put in the chat, or reach out to HIP with any questions. Are there any
Yes.
questions in the chat for Carmen right now while we still have her here?
I do not see any questions so far, but please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat while Carmen's still here.
Carmen, if you get the $3,000 by going retroactively for 3 years, is there any prohibition of using any part of that to buy scratch tickets or lottery tickets?
It's funny because some of the clients, we hear the stories of what, like, their plans of what they plan to do with the money, and it's usually good causes. Like they want to, like, either go on a vacation even, or like pay debt, or like spend it with their grandchildren, whatever it is. It's always good to know, like, what are their plans once they get the money that they didn't expect in the first place. So it makes us very happy when they do.
Well, of course, I'm not being serious, but it is important that if you qualify for this benefit, you should take advantage of it. It may help with your rent, your utilities, your groceries, and hopefully maybe a little fun too. So thank you again, Carmen.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Well, not haven't seen any questions come in. But I can put HIP's phone number or website into the chat so anyone who thinks of a question later can reach out. And like Carmen said, they also will help apply for other assistance as well, like utility assistance or emergency rental assistance or the tax credit program. So definitely get in touch with one of their counselors if you need some extra assistance with like filling out those documents or navigating applications. Well, thank you so much, Carmen. Again, feel free to stay with us or go have dinner. And of course, we will have you back. We love having you on here. Thank you so much. I'm gonna turn it over now to do some of our normal resources information. Who wants to talk about landlord tenant? Oh, Jackie, can you tell us about landlord tenant and code enforcement, please?
Sure, thanks. I'm gonna do landlord tenants. I'm gonna start with ACE actually. So, Maryland access to counsel and eviction. So tenants may qualify for a free lawyer if you make 50% of area median income. And the Maryland access to counsel and evictions assists with the following cases: failure to pay rent, breach of lease, tenant holding over, voucher or other subsidy terminations. A lawyer might also be able to help if your landlord is pressuring you to move, for example, such as by illegally shutting down utilities. I'm going to put all these phone numbers in the chat in a little bit, but you can always contact Maryland Legal Aid at 888-465-2468. They can help you out. CASA Legal Services. They can also help you out, 866-765-2272, or you can just call 211. If you find yourself at court and you don't have any legal representation, there's lawyers on Wednesdays, and we found out that there's going to be some on Fridays as well. So you can contact them and try to see if they can help you out. You can also walk into the District Court Help Center located on the second floor of the District Court in Rockville, which is 191 East Jefferson Street, or call 301-563-8800. And again, all this information I'm going to put in the chat when I am done. Next, I'm going to talk to you about the Office of Landlord Tenant Affairs. So who are they? The Office of Landlord Tenant Affairs is charged with informing the public of their general rights and responsibilities. And this is both of tenants and of landlords. And they also help to resolve disputes amicably. Their goal is to provide as much information as possible to avoid problems and to help make the landlord-tenant relationship work as efficiently as possible. On their website, they provide several resources that I recommend that you go and look and download as well for your own personal copies. Landlord Tenant Handbook, which outlines the basic rights and responsibilities of tenants and landlords. Ordinary wear and tear, which outlines what the security deposit is and what the landlord can deduct from your deposit at the end of a tenancy, and also what you should do at the beginning of a tenancy when you walk in and inspecting your unit. They also have the rights of those that rent rooms, sample leases, sample notices, and termination leases. If you are having a tenant or a landlord believes that there's been a violation of landlord-tenant law, you are free to file a complaint with the Office of Landlord-Tenant Affairs. They will then investigate this complaint and provide mediation. However, we implore and they implore that before you file a complaint, you please try to work with your landlord or the tenant first. If through mediation of Alta, you're unable to get your issue resolved, then that case can be referred to the Commission of Landlord-Tenant Affairs. And then it can just have a hearing at that point. You have to file a complaint online, and we're gonna, yeah, my team's putting that information in the chat, and you have to file the complaint online and have backup documents, pictures, any kind of written documentation to help support your case. And an investigator will call you within 24 to 48 hours and speak to you about what's going on. All right, I'm going to turn it over to our Maryland Service here intern Wa to talk you through housing code. Take it over, Wa.
For the Office of Code Enforcement, they handle maintenance and structural violations. So if your unit has issues such as pest infestation, there's no heat or air conditioning, excessive mode, pipes leaking, or lack of utilities, and the plants aren't working, then you can submit a complaint online on code enforcement under Alta as well. Most uncorrected violations are subject to a $500 sum of citation for each violation, and if they don't fix it within a certain amount of time, then the citation can be issued again and again. But we also recommend that you initially put in a maintenance request with your management team and give them ample time to address and fix the issues. But it's really on your own, I guess, your conscience of like your best judgment to see if that's something that should be addressed immediately. For instance, as we're going to, have hotter weather, and you don't have air conditioning during those time, then it should be rectified immediately within 48 hours. Again, just reach out to your management in writing, and if they don't fix that immediately, then you can escalate that to code, and you can also reach out to Renters Alliance for guidance or have any question on how to proceed forward. And if you live in Rockville or Gaithersburg, they have their own code department, and it'll be best to reach out to them. Tacoma Park has a contract with the county, so it'll fall under the same code.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Jackie, for that information, and all those links are in the chat. And like
Emily,
Juan
if I could just jump in real quick on something that Wa said about air conditioning, since it happens to be 90 some odd degrees today, and I am sweating bullets right here in my apartment with my computer generating heat. But a couple things. We'll talk more about the air conditioning requirements in Montgomery County, but a couple rules of thumb. One, if you have air conditioning now, your landlord is required to have it in good working order. That is very different from apartment buildings like mine that have to turn over the entire heating and ventilation system once a year. So, for example, my apartment building has ended heat as of Monday by their own choice, but it takes several days for them to get the air conditioning up and running. The law does not require that air conditioning be put into effect until June. We are working on legislation to try to bring that up to maybe May 15th or earlier. It's risky for some places because we see temperatures go up and then we see them go down. And then if you don't have heat, like in a building like mine where they've shut it off and now it goes down to the 40s or 50s, you'll find yourself cold and without heat. So there's always that precarious judgment call that a landlord has to make. A good landlord, however, will be paying attention, and like mine, has decided to turn on the air conditioning now in the middle of April, which is terrific. Unfortunately, it's not happening today, so I will be laying in bed with my mouth open, hoping that some air hits me somehow or other. But it'll be on this week, so just keep that in mind. We will discuss the air conditioning requirements for Montgomery County in the future. But one thing to know now, if you have air conditioning and can turn it on and it doesn't work, the landlord is required to have it in good working order, as with all of your appliances. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until the landlord is required to turn it on. If they're a good landlord, hopefully they'll turn it on earlier.
Thanks, Matt. Tim, can I turn it over to you to talk a little bit about tenant associations and how people can contact us if they want to start a tenants association?
Sure, thanks, Emily. So, tenants association is when a group of residents at an apartment building decide to get together and meet and talk about ways that you can make the conditions in your building better for all the residents. And it's one of the things that we're happy to try to start. I know it kind of sounds maybe daunting or like a lot of work, but there's different levels to it, right? It can be as easy as we've seen associations that just exist primarily on WhatsApp. People just chat, they don't really meet. That's okay too. But we've also seen associations where people get together, they have they have dues, they have a budget for wine and cheese, and there's everything in between. So if there's something that if you want to create a sense of community in your building, if you want to try to address issues that aren't necessarily code or OLTA related, but are still important to you, like sometimes people, like I talked to some tenants at senior building that said that they have a key fob, or sorry, they have a code for their building, and that should be perfectly fine, but they've noticed that a lot of people kind of get the code, and a lot of people they don't want in the building are able to get in the building, and they want to ask management to go back to a key fob, which they used to have. And so obviously the management, they don't have to provide a key fob service if they have a door code. But it's one of those things that if you have a lot of people get together and put the weight of your collective voice together, it's something that you can really ask the management to do. So those types of things I think the tenants association is perfect for. And maybe it can also help with issues that are code or more legal, but through that you could be getting more people to join in on your complaint, and that's also a good thing. So more of the story, if you don't have a tenants association in your building, we highly encourage you to start one, and feel free to reach out if you want help with that. And we'll also, for the first meeting, pizza will be on us. So yeah, at the very least, claim your free pizza.
Thanks, Tim. And on the theme of tonight, talking about voting and registering to vote, Pat, do you have anything you want to say?
My usual, the ballot box. Everybody try their best to get to the ballot box. That is our power. We need to get there and vote and show them that renters have power. So when it's your turn to vote, please vote. And as Matt had put in the chat earlier, if you want a button that says renters vote, just write to us or email us and we'd be glad to get one to you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Pat.
Vote.
Hope everyone hears that message. And just want to say that our next town hall is Wednesday, April 29th. Matt touched a little bit on some of the outcomes from the Maryland General Assembly this year, but we'll do a more comprehensive roundup on the 29th. So please tune in with us then if you want to hear what bills passed, what bills didn't pass. Any final thoughts?
If you have any questions or concerns in general, you can put them in the chat now. We've got a couple more minutes. I want to thank Emily Towie, who our outreach coordinator, for moderating this evening. And of course, our staff, Jackie Mashinya, Wah Ho from the Service Year Program, Pat Beckham, of course, Tim Wong, our treasurer, Josh Fisher, who makes sure our money goes where it's supposed to go, and David Mullins, who's actually listening in on another tenant meeting right now, who is our senior research and outreach person. So for all of you, thanks for paying attention. Again, we'll circle back on the 29th for our next town hall, which will focus on upcoming legislative or things that were considered in the Maryland General Assembly this year. So with that, I think if there's no other question.
Nope. And as the weather's turning warm and you're having community events, invite us out. We'll love to come out.
That's right.
Oh.
We'll put up an information table and so on. Emily, you see something?
Yeah, I see. Just a comment. Gaithersburg does not seem to respond to our tenant association what to do. Please reach out to us. We're happy to come out and speak to your tenants association. give you some best tips, best practices. We can help facilitate a meeting if you want to invite management to, if all the tenant association members agree, we could arrange to invite management. Maybe there's a list of issues you want to, the group wants to collectively present to them. It's a common complaint that we hear sometimes that tenant management is resistant to tenant associations. So we want to make sure you know all of your rights to organize and that those aren't violated. So please reach out to us. Jackie put our information in the chat. We'd be happy to have a call with you or come out and meet with the association.
All right, folks. Thank you very much and good night.